Hello everyone, this is Blunder Guppy. In this video, I'm going to show you the making of Primitive Weapon version 2. Version 1 I posted in Instagram and Twitter. And in this video, I'm going to remake that process and also give a little twist to the design. Okay, so let's start. Okay, building the base mesh. And this will be the handle. So in the first design, I opted not to bevel the um, edges or the sharp corners of the handle, and it felt quite unnatural. And if a person was, of course, gripping the handle without gloves, it would hurt themselves. So in this version, I chamfered it or beveled it to make the handle softer. Qualifying the bottom with the quad slice operator, and then giving enough resolution to the base mesh so the randomizer script can, of course, um, play with a lot more faces. So doing the hammer bit, okay, in this portion or portion, you see me adding additional edge loops in this part. This is because I want to I want the randomization to give more details in that area. So I added more faces or edge loops in that area versus the other parts which are composed of evenly spaced quad faces. Okay, so separating the handle so I can use spinal cloth on it later on. Okay, so detailing the metal part of the handle using random panels and one of its presets, which is called the random panel hard, and just playing around with the subdivision and also the panel seat. Okay, so in this part, I'm going to use panel cut to manually add some detail using the topology that has resulted from the randomization. So panel cut is a separate purchase from the bundle, and it creates panel cuts from selected edges or mark shot edges depending on the mode that you are using. So this part here is where I use the split property to basically adjust the endpoint or the end vertices into another face, and then making sure that and then using the merge property to merge the resulting vertices from this area here. Okay, so yeah, removes the doubles and attaches the resulting endpoint vertices from the operation to the vertex that is basically in the existing face right here. Okay. And toggling on cut symmetry, so it cuts the symmetry line. Okay, here another important function, the boundary edge. So from before, in the original selection, you can see that the operation is supposed to use the selected edges, but if you just selected a face island like that one, you can use the boundary edge toggle to just cut the boundary edges from those selection. So you don't have to manually select the boundary edges, just select the faces. Okay, let's go to the handle or the grip. So in this portion, I will be using panel cloth to create a cloth effect and using the preset. So this preset will be in the update. Okay, remove faces. So basically the source mesh, basically the faces selected from the source mesh will be removed so it doesn't overlap with the cloth effect. And just playing around. So what I want to do here is create those wrinkles. It's pretty hard to create those effects on this type of topology since this it's pretty straight, and most of the wrinkles that can be done are or easily be done can easily be done is from hanging cloth or cloth affected by gravity. But for this one, it's pretty hard. So uh, okay, so you can see you saw me there. Okay, the use mirror toggle here. So I untangled that for the operation to affect the entire mesh as a whole, not just, I think it's in the, yeah. In this instance, I forgot that I have the uh, use mirror toggle on. So it's creating the effect with the mirror modifier on. So you can see the partition here of the symmetry, or basically in that area. And then I just remember that and then toggle the use mirror on. Okay, so playing with the value some more so we can make it faster. Okay, right here. So right here, to create the wrinkle effect, I decided to create or to mark the edges as selected edges as sharp. So what it does for the panel cloth operator is it basically creates it creases the area, so or pinches the area on those marked sharp edges. Okay, so those are not sharpness. Okay, but I think it's not producing the same effect or the intended effect. So I clear the sharpness and then use Marksim instead. So what Marksim does is split the mesh. You can see the split mode right here. So it splits the mesh, or yeah, based on the selected edges with their seams marked, and basically isolates each face island or panel cut effect on those separated faces. Okay, so I hope that doesn't sound particularly confusing. So the sharpness or the pinching effect earlier using march up the edges is not having the desired result. But this one, of course, is generating some of the intended result, but the areas are, you can see that it's too puffed out or bulgy. So in this part, I just res- um, resorted to modifying the settings a bit more, playing around with it. So the shrink, okay, I think this one's good. So the shrink property is here, right here. So the shrink property works like shrink and fatten, Alt S in the mesh, basically puffs out or shrinks um, the faces, and also the pressure. Kind of the pressure also has that same effect, but it doesn't. It's not that it operates in subtlety. It's subtle. Um, it puffs out the mesh, but not so much like shrink it. So if you reduce the value, it will just revert back to the original state of the mesh. If you increase the value, it pops it out. Whereas using the shrink property, um, modifying it, I think decreasing it will puff out the mesh, and then increasing it will shrink the mesh. Let's continue. So still playing around. Basically, let's try and move on. Okay. So right here, not so much has changed, but I've settled with this. I basically settled with this setting right here, as you can see, and with that look because I can't generate the wrinkles enough. Maybe because of the topology. Okay, so let's move on to the hammer bit. Okay, increasing the subdivision, so the operator can have more faces to play with. So this time, quick displacement to create the rock effect or stone or rock look, increasing the cuts and playing around with the strength and the size. Okay, there are two transform properties in the redo panel. We have location, rotation, scale, and then on the bottom part, we also have uh, scale and also rotation. So the in this area right here, okay, on the top part, also including the location, that controls the transformation of the image texture that's being used to displace the object. Okay, and in the bottom part, the transformation here controls the transformation of the source mesh or the active object itself that is being displaced. Okay, let's continue. So you can play around with the settings to control the look of the displacement. I'm just playing around with the rotation, with the transformation of the textures here. So the scale, I eventually settled with this look and just made it, yeah, and just decreased the strength and added some subdivision modifier or subsurf modifier. Okay, so that is the big shape. I then used quick displacement again with more subtle settings. So basically the strength is reduced and also the size, and played around with the noise basis or what noise method to use, and then increase the subdivision to increase the detail or fidelity of the displacement effect. So in this part, I'm going to create the straps using a cylinder. Okay. And just shrink wrap into the um, rock object. So I will add a solidify modifier to this using the draw modifiers operator. Activate use solidify and adjust the thickness or adjust the thickness in this part. So, and here the shrink wrap function. Okay, the shrink wrap. So activate the use shrink wrap toggle to use the shrink wrap on the object. So basically the active object in the selection, this can work on multiple objects, but the active object will be the one that is going to be shrink wrapped on. So the active object aside, the rest of the selection or the previous selections will be the ones shrink wrapped to the active object. So this needs like uh, two selections or more in order for it to operate. Okay, wrap subdivision. Wrap subdivisions means that the shrink wrap modifier is placed below the subsurf. So the effect of the subdivision or the increased resolution will be shrink wrapped to the active object. If it were placed above the subdivision modifier, the shrink wrap modifier, then only the source, the original resolution will be shrink wrapped to the active object, and or the basic or the base subdivision, meaning that zero subdivision will be shrink wrapped to the active object, ignoring the effects of the subdivision. Okay, so creating the straps from this. So by design, I think the handle is basically buried into the hammer, but this I just added in the straps as a additional way of supporting it, I guess. So duplicating it and then using the duplicate for the shrink wrap. What I forgot to use here is actually just duplicate the shrink wrapped object, but I remembered to use that later on in the video. So right here, I'm just using the original, duplicating the original, and then shrink wrapping it to the object. But then I remember that I can just so basically just rotating it and making it look like straps on the hammerhead. Okay, okay, there we go. No, I'm still using the. There we go. So just duplicate the shrink wrapped object. So right here is the limitation of the operator. I was trying to adjust the shrink wrap, but I forgot that you can do that. Adjust the shrink wrap with the shrink wrap is already on the. So I settled on just going to the modifier stack and adjusting the modifiers there. There we go. Just duplicate the straps and then adjusting the solidify or the offset of the shrink wrap to make the others like layer on top of each other and not overlap the faces, to avoid overlaps in the faces. Okay, basically the same movements. And in this part, I repeated the process, just duplicating and twisting just to make it look like uh, a bunch of straps wrapped to the handle. Okay, so the model is done. All we need now is the shader. So in here, I'm going to up in the materials from the shading feature of random flow. So 7 materials appended. So for the cloth, I'm going to use the cloth shader, selecting all the cloth object and adding the cloth material using creative flow. And for the sci-fi bit, I'm going to add the ARF, okay, use random vertex color first, and then actually in this video, I forgot to set the vertex color as the base color of the hard surface areas. Okay, using the Airflow panel soft UV, meaning that the material will be using this. You will be using the softer baked baked texture from Underflow as the bump map with a more subtle strength. So in here, I'm adjusting. I'm going to in this part, I'm going to adjust the scale of the texture. Looking at the viewport as I do so. There we go. And I'm also going to activate the lights by increasing the strength. So the light node is already connected. You just have to increase the strength and play around with the offset and the size and also the factor. Okay, so for the rack, I'm going to create a new material and then I'm going to use the textures that I took using my mirrorless camera. So I've started sharing it in Patreon. Every time I share it, what do you call it? Early access for the paid members, and it's always going to be 3 days. So in 3 days, it will be public, and then everyone can use it. It's in JPEG format, and I think 4K. So you can but in this video, I used it with using the original dimensions with no edits. I did edit it in Darktable to make the textures look flatter to get rid of the sharpness in the um, highlights. But of course, you can also edit that yourself, make the texture seamless. So in this video, the textures are not seamless. I'm going to create a cycles group node that will let you do just that, and it's going to be public because there are already free versions of them hanging around. So I'll just create my own version and then share it for free in Patreon. Okay, so in here I'm driving the specular using the texture itself, controlled by colorant, with the intensity controlled by the colorant, and then for the roughness as well, And then adding a color mix node. There we go. And then adjusting the color to basically, oh no, just the factor. The color is set to, color of the B stop is set to default. And then I adjusted the factor to control the intensity of the roughness. And then using the texture again, set it as bump. Okay, set it to something like 0.2 or zero point 0.3, but be careful with it because it can destroy the look of your model. So right here, there we go. Um, where Here we go. So this is, I think, Control Shift click on the node, and it gives you the preview of what the node looks like. So basically, from the node and then back, all the way back, all their effects will be shown in the viewport. So to do this, you need to activate Node Wrangler in the add-ons. It comes with Blender, so it's free and you just have to activate it. So I'm just cycling through the textures that I took, and you can see the seam right there because the image is not edited and it is not seamless. You can use Photoshop or GIMP to make it seamless. I did not edit it, so you can edit it yourself. Because if I edited it, you're stuck with my edit. So I'd rather just give you the uh, file with its original form as much as possible. So I think this is the sand from the beach, and this is the cement. I'm still waiting for my tripod. The other pictures are quite are there's a bit of ghosting in the edges and also some blurriness because I took this handheld and I wasn't using a tripod. I'm still waiting for my tripod so the shots are more stable. Okay, I think I settled with this one. This one is I took this one from using the road texture. We're using like very rough cement for the road here. So I think I used this one. And for this one, I added in AO to create. So in the valleys of the model, you can create like rust effects and also mud stuck to those areas. So just like this one here. Just keep it subtle. Keep playing around until you get that subtle look. Not too much. There we go. Oops. I think you played around with this. Yeah, I think it took it just a bit farther. Okay, there we go. So this is the hammer. Okay, we're going to make the background transparent so we can see the model better. There you go. At this point, I was thinking like maybe I should create blood splatter, but I didn't have any texture for it. I could experiment with procedural texturing, but using noise, but that will have made the video longer. I will show you how to create those blood splatter effects on future videos. Parenting the hammer to an empty, so we can control the movement or the transformation of the hammer using the empty object. Adding a floor um, model. and using quick displacement on it. So the quick displacement operator is destructive. Uh, it will apply the modifier, so you will end up with a real mesh or an applied mesh. So be careful with it because it's destructive. So what I do is use the operator in steps. There's for the bridge shapes, the second shape, and if you can still do it, uh, the third shape, which is the uh, more detailed shapes, yeah, by increasing the subdivision some more. So the material for the hammerhead, and just name this as rock, and then I'll use it for the floor and duplicate it so it is now an individual, a separate material from the original rock material, and named it floor. Okay. And just play around with the textures. So this is the cement texture I was talking about. This is the sand that it took. Okay, taking out the effect of the AO or changing the colors and also making it more subtle. So you can support me in Patreon or just there's a lot more free posts there than actually paywall. So you can just be a member and get free stuff there monthly. Because I am now addicted to taking pictures of surfaces. Okay. Uh, yeah, I think that's a wall. Yeah. I'm also planning on taking pictures of cardboards, cloth, leaves. I think for the leaves, I'm going to buy uh, press. I'm going to collect the leaves first and press them, and then once they're flat, just take a picture of them and create an alpha. Create a picture from a colored background, solid color background, and then create an alpha from that. Then you can use it for your um, 3D modeling. Okay, so we've settled with the floor texture, and now I'm just playing with the lighting. As you can probably observe in my videos, I really don't model a lot. I usually just code a lot and then model to test out the script, the changes in the script. So as you can see, I'm just using HDRI as a quick and dirty way to light the scene. And sometimes if I need like effects like backlights or fill light, then I'll use actual lamps in Blender using the track lights add-on. The track lights add-on is also a more personal add-on, but I just included it in creative bundle so you can actually use it by watching my videos. Okay, so in here, yeah, the cloth. So this is the cloth shader is using a can I see it here? Yeah. The cloth shader is using the pointiness node from the geometry to create highlights and shadows on based on the details. So in the original form of the shader, it's too harsh for this model. So I just made it more subtle. As you can see now, the cloth is much lighter. So again, the shaders are not drag and drop. It will still depend on your model. So you have to edit them. Okay, right here I'm playing around with the focal length to edit the look of the model in the viewport. The focal length in the viewport is different from the focal length in the render view, so you have to set it separately. Or in camera view, there was separate values. Okay, and yeah, this is the finished model, and yeah, I think this looks really good. So the handle is probably the part where I had the most difficulty trying to create the effect. Eventually, um, I did not create the effect that I want. I may probably because of the this is probably because of um, the format or the way the topology is laid out. So I could have made more edits on that, made some edges close to each other and something like that to create the wrinkles. Yeah, and yeah, I think it is the faces that are responsible. The way the faces, their size and the edges, their proximity to each other. Okay, so that is the making of video on Primitive Weapon version 2. And I hope you learned something from this video. And as soon as the update hits, you can and follow along this making of video. And that's it for this video. And if you have any questions, use the comment section below or the links in the description. Subscribe and hit notify. And remember to visit Patreon and be a member. So even if you're not in a paid membership, you can there's still a lot of free stuff there that's going to be posted monthly. So from before, I was like, um, I post like once every 3 months or something like that. So right now, I'm planning to post a lot every month. So I'm thanking all those paid members, which has stuck to me, even though I think I have forgotten to post anything. Uh, I remembered I forgotten to post anything in like 6 months, I think, and they're still there. So I thank you for sticking around. So yeah, um, and for you too as well. Thank you for watching. Be here for the next video and have a nice day.